So these days we took a bit of a break from Lapa and from these teachings, and the translator disappeared, and we decided we should offer the reading transmission alone. So it's been a while. So for the teaching, where did we end up? What were we talking about? Rinpoche was wondering this, was thinking, what were we talking about with this? Where are we at?
가와를 통해서 배차대에서 세고자 이 소리야 주마게 가장 가와를 통해서 지나서 필요고 참아서 왔어.
So getting ready for tonight's teaching, I was looking all over the text. Is this where we left off? Was it up here? Going back, going ahead in the text, going later in the text. Where are we at? Where did we end up? Did that happen to anybody else?
알았어. 다 도스기 때문에 다 트레이드 되는 거라서 다 가장 같이 근접장 주기 선제. 아니 다 선제하지. 아니 선제벽에 다 말아서 지금 럽자 되니까 그래서 애니가 다 람철게 내려서 다 같이 접지. 다 트레이드 되는 거라서 좀 되네. 남자 좀 셈 되니다. 텔레스키로 되네. 더구여 봐라스. 근데 제가 갖고 송했어.
So we've been discussing relative bodhicitta, initially going over how to give rise to relative bodhicitta. And once relative bodhicitta is arisen, engendered, then the precepts or the trainings in relative bodhicitta, in particular the various different key points of taking situations onto the path, taking the different types of situations, experiences onto the path as trainings of relative bodhicitta. So we've concluded that discussion, the different verses and the practices related to relative bodhicitta or conventional bodhicitta. So today, our main topic will be, or it seems to be, it seems that we're at this point discussing ultimate bodhicitta. Is this what all of you practitioners remember, recall?
야, 되네 손다. 애니 양 나와다니 비스니에 담게 사제지 보고 돌자. 되네 대체도. 애니 말은 저 애니 야실라네 숨죠. sodium male ta tre ene tandam chakchup jisen ene nga zo da nyam yak ene ta ne gaus khanes je ene nga zo nyam so lango de ge chol se je ene ya de ge nyam so lango ge ge nyam bi samba chakchup tu ke ba sa ta pe sa ba shos.
Please, once again, to begin our teachings, give rise to bodhicitta, the precious mind of enlightenment, thinking for the sake of all sentient beings as vast in number as the sky to attain the level of complete enlightenment, the stage of Buddhahood, who will receive these teachings, listen to these teachings. This evening's teachings guidance on the 37 practices of Bodhisattva, in particular the teachings on ultimate bodhicitta. Ultimate bodhicitta, which primarily relates to, is focused on what exactly it is we're to be doing when resting in meditation, when remaining in a state of meditative equipoise, how to do that, and what it is that we're to do there. So with this as our motivation to receive these teachings on this topic, and listen to these teachings, receive these teachings with a sense in one's mind of having received these teachings, I need to practice them. I now need to put them into practice and engage in this type of meditation. So we'll begin with reading the root verse. All appearances are your own mind, and mind itself primordially transcends all mental fabrications. Knowing this is the precise nature of reality. To remain free from dualistic conceptions is the practice of a bodhisattva.
Chetar nawanda das. Ta ngaran so pena ene ngachu ene wongbo. Ene ta ngai chi yolo chobe ta ngaran so chi yoru chi yorba. Then ta ngaran so sutra churu sala so ta. Dona ta ngaran so pena ene nawasabe. Ta ngaran so pena ene make yort. Ene ngaran so nawas choba pena ta ri. Ene ta ngaran so kasa nauka sagi japso la sopa tauchi. Ene ngaran so chi ene nangi ko was. Ta tera ene ta ngaran so sember ata ti ene di jile di chure di naukare rwa di tene tuyare di tene ngaran so sayare di tene ki ngaran so tere samaki ngaran so ki sembi har tere yangji ene neshi taboda ngaran so ene jik delpa ene zimbashi shoke ete ji rongro ji tuwas.
All appearances are your own mind. So first here, all appearances, everything that appears. What do we mean by this? Appearances meaning referring to appearances of objects to one's sense faculties. The appearance of externally These are all what we mean by appearances, the appearances to one's senses, the objects that appear to you, the things that are seen. Seen, visual objects, visual appearances, mountains, the sky, ocean, the earth. All of these are what we call appearances. So things appearing, external appearances appearing and then being grasped, apprehended by the mind, being labeled by the mind. This external appearance I'm seeing is a mountain. This is water. This is the ocean. This is something to eat. This is something to drink. So when we talk about appearances, all appearances are your own mind. The external appearance of objects to the sense faculties and then the apprehension of those objects by the mind, the fixation upon those objects, or the conceptualization of those objects done by the mind. So all of these appearances, objective reality, all these objects appearing to our senses, we need to ask ourselves, do they actually exist or not? Are they truly established? Do they truly exist or not? So then ways to question this. So if something is truly existent, it naturally exists as it's appearing there, then one way to look at this, say we take one given entity, one thing, one object. Then that single object, if it's truly existent, if it's inherently, naturally existent as it's appearing to us, then it would follow that it would need to appear in the exact same way to, say, all beings across the 6 realms of existence. That single appearance would have to be equivalent or the same for all different types of beings. If something is truly existent, then it's inherently, naturally there, unchanging, stable, true in that way. It would have to appear as such.
Oh, that's very nice. Not making my dasaki. Drink, junk. Ninjabo, Loma Barbara Yoyo.
Junku.
That's
left.
That's all. I didn't know to be Zadang, any method is almost. Narang make Ziberchi Peke, general. Hungry. You know, young, Dini, I don't know to go pena any, young, any Tata. Oh, Karisagorota, Abratao, when the Sendia Ralo to the Tinian, the Sendia to the door, Abratao. Not digital, which is Reputas and the door. Look, man. Oh, yeah, Kosoge, young, tell it, Doge, Koranzo, Colorado, it was.
To one example, how appearances appear differently. So Rinpoche says he's sitting here and I see these beautiful vines, plants up here, lovely green, foliage. That's nice. It's pretty nice. It's a nice little adornment to the room. That's how I perceive this single object. That's my experience of that object. That's how it appears to me. But for other beings, like some kind of herbivores, maybe some kind of rodents or a sheep or a goat or something, they see this vegetation and all they see is food. They see something delicious. A single object is appearing and experienced as something totally different.
나랑 그랬더니 나랑 배사는 최현비 이제 어떤 게 개념이 뭐지? 라마 처모요. 네. 라마 처모요. 네, 내 강과들 가가 세제. 근데 최신 때문에 배 되라고. 뭐 생계 자식 답게 되게 참이라요. 근데 제가라면은 안에 내 강과는 드레스들이 내
솔직히 강과되나?
나는 강과는 하지. 근데 때는 그것도 참이라 야고 야. 근데 배도 스테이지는 야지 되지. 아, 제말로 가는 거는 아메리카라 용 근데 벌써 파. 나 파지로도 나로 가는 타라는 거래도. 간다더니 뭐 충청지기 용은 그 간다 세. 근데 그 밖에서 나 생일 차보지도 와. 맞지 생일 차보인데 나 얘들은 밑도 첨부 소 첨부 그래서 그 세나 사투에르면도 와. 가대 세나 코반은 효도에르면도 하나 세나 싫어서 이나야 코상이 뭐들 가르치나 하나 말해줘 녀와 에 충청 에 거저 뺀데서 말이야 그때는 신이 간가 세는 야 간가 코반은 휴니 간가 야고 이거 보다 빠빠 거도 간가 짱바리 빠간가 그러니까 타라로 주서 그랬어 다가 한번에 니한테는 버티쳐서 다 잘라야 강감 버렸으니 니 최형도 사상 니 최형 공천부 최형 저보대 야 코상한 거야 거기 코랑게 가라니 거기 가라지 코랑게 나 버티쳐서 된다고 집에는데 나 코랑 나와라 니 조세 되지 마 코랑게 가라 이거야 나게 나와라 여비 차고 중보 싸움도 힘도 그때 코랑은 나와르지나 응알모 신보 쉬어라고 말라고 그러니까 내니 나와대 가래서 차원에서 나네 나 대말에는 코 대말에서
Some years ago, many years ago, I was living in Nepal at the time, and Lama Tsomo came to visit. And at that time, in my home where I was staying, I didn't have much, fancy stuff. I didn't have some elaborate, nice, fancy, expensive shrine. And Lama Tsomo took it upon herself that she was going to get me a very nice shrine for my place. So she went out and ordered and had this shrine set made, carved, and painted, incredibly elaborate, gorgeous, 8 auspicious symbols, flowers, all sorts of different images, designs carved and painted on it. Beautiful, ornate, expensive shrine, and offered it to me. And, it was quite lovely. I took all my sacred objects and my statues, placed them in there, set it up nice. Then, sometime a little later, I traveled to America. And when I returned, I came back, and all around the shrine was little dust, some kind of funny-looking sawdust, very, very fine dust all around it. And I'm investigating this. And what happened here? And I noticed there's termites, tiny little termites infested the beautiful shrine, and they were just eating away. There's holes all through the whole shrine, and the dust was gathering all around it. And it's like you look at a hard wooden, beautiful shrine or just something wooden, and it's definitely not something to be eaten. It's not something that any strong man could eat or let alone like chew, but to digest it'd probably kill him. The splinters would kill them. It's like would could be deadly to eat such a thing with these tiny, teeny, little, minuscule, weak bugs. This was paradise to them. They see the same thing that appears in one way to me as my beautiful, ornate, very hard, solid, stable wooden shrine appeared as a, sweet, delicious, melts like butter sort of, feast for these tiny little bugs. They probably didn't have any sense at all that it was my shrine that they're, devouring. Anyway, this experience was kind of amazing to me, to really see that one single object was experienced and appeared in such different ways to different beings, that to me appeared distinctly, as in this way, as a hard, wooden object, not to be eaten, to put your sacred objects on, and to these tiny bugs, the experience of the same object was completely different. So then to ask yourself, well, whose perspective of that single object is right? Who's correct? Who's true in this situation?
양 이제 다시 이거지. 얘네 다 저 가르사에 다다 나랑 저 얘네 반응이 나와. 내가 저야 참사는 요래. 내가 저 부분에 다독 저도 다독 하는 쇼치슈래. 얘들은 참사는 다 맨들에 다 나랑 좀 양보서야 되고다. 되게 뭐 보고요라. 맨 Busaya 들어와
Busaya.
쓴들이 넷. 가서 뭐
Pesticide.
Pesticide.
Busaya.
Busaya.
되나? 다 뒤다고 되는 말한서 되니 다 독치모들. 다 나도 양 참선을 시작되는데 독과들이 얼마들이 독과 대신은 되는 말한서 제도 손에 독기 제라고 되는 고도가. 근데스키는 나게 명하는로 되네 독들의 제들이 다 도도들하고 요래 싸대. 아메리카는 노드소라. 제도 쓰고.
Tendu.
제도.
Econite. Econite.
Econite?
Aconite, AC,
Oh, NIT.
poison or homeopathic, it's good.
Yeah.
어야. 자,
So
다 되더라고지 뉴 되는 내다 셔담을 녹여요. 셔담을 녹여. 가르쳐 다 말한 저 되네요. 또도 되네. 제들을 먹도. 되네 거로 가시를 배쳤다면 노질이 아주 따이. 코미도 간가 공부를 쳐도. 거기 간가 공부를 쳐도. 가르도 따로 코 뭐지 용은 뭐지 그 참았어. 빠빠 때서 야도 모두 최장 세 쳐도. 야 코로나 힘도 코로나 대샤. 강가 또 지키는 나고 맞는 코로나 때 다시 더욱더 간가 사서도. 코드니 힘도 코드 있어.
기본차.
이내야 더욱더 세 쳐도 지키는 근데 고쳐로 놓고 말아 지키는 나고 맞는 데 거지. 그때는 시기인지로 다들 가르쳐 유튜브나 간시로 시당 감주자고 그래. 지키는 고만이 지키 여지를 가. 코 강가 때는 쓰니 코 참아 다시 기당 선제 먹고 빼는 말아서 다소 다소 나야 되게 주고 그도와 소 그래서 코면 저거는 되게 이 도대 얘네야 양뭐 코랑 뭐지
Sonaya.
다다 때는 내 기당 같은 가르쳐 이 다다 다음 무슨이든 가르쳐 그래 예 같아서
Unit.
예 무슨도 같아서
Germs. Bacteria.
Bacteria, viruses or something?
Mm.
Sene Buddha to Segiri.
얘네야 코 가야 독을만 코랑 간가 세게 또 고조 먹고 믿어 고조 이게 독들 노동하게도 참아 싸자도 사는 코로나 침몰하고 차지 내기도 방금 너 애공 폭기 나오는 데도 얘네 가야 빼나 나서 나오지나 중요하게 싸두고 만 중요하게 센 빠지 신어 코 차상세 양자로 코도 마셔 맞지 코 네바로 빼야 빼는 데도 나 대가 근데 나 나서나 더든 저바데 코나 더도 파야 코나 매라고 진짜 내 가래
So another example. So in Tibetan medicine, there's one particular ingredient used in some concoction as a pesticide or a means to, get rid of bacteria.
Pesticide.
Just kill little bugs. Antibiotic. So as an ingredient to deal with some ailments. But it's an extremely powerful poison. Maybe what we call aconite, an herbal poison that's extremely strong. It can be very fatal, dangerous, but often used in different medicines to treat kinds of bugs and things. So it's also used in some rituals, some pujas and some rituals. You use this as a particular substance of power, a sacred substance put into different tormas used in different rituals and so forth. So Rinpoche at one point had bought a bunch of this to be used as an averting torma practice, and for its ritual means he had kind of a supply saved up. You can find it in the States now too, he says. So anyway, he had this and he was keeping it in his room in a little receptacle that was like sealed, with the cover on top, and he had used it a few times, and then he went to open the top one day just to check on it or something. Saw that most of it was gone, and there was a bug in there, some kind of little bug that had eaten almost all of it. Just a little shell of the stuff was left. The bug had eaten damn near all of it. And not only had it not killed the bug seemed pretty pleased with the stuff. It had grown quite large from eating this. He doesn't know how it got in there. Maybe it was in there before he put the stuff in there, but it definitely couldn't get out. Couldn't get out. It had, just about eaten itself to death. If he hadn't, taken it out of there, it probably would have died in there. Point being, this extremely toxic poison to humans and to most bugs, for this bug was not only not toxic, not poison, but was a delicacy. And really served to make it, strengthen it and empower it. Again, point being, a single object appears and acts in different ways to different beings. So, what's that all about?
Benata Sengen Kashila. Travel Nawati Kashila Tene Nocha. Kashiga Tenepet is in Sally Long joking, the Nepet which is around over Chalataso, Kashiga the Kalari the job. Kashila Med Nawati, Kashila told the Nandeva. Bena Kashila. 낭지 와서 통세 잘라줘라 빼는 니만라고 빼는 말하는 정도 니만라고 해라 참아 통세 잘라줘
동기
야 서브제기 잘 니는 다 가시를 내 거듭제래도 빼다 못 받아고 생계 먹고 처음마다 니마에는 약고 동음이다 빼는 다 가시라 서제도 줘봐대 가시를 듭제도 차대 대나기 다 가시를 매도 줘봐서 가시를 더도 줘대. 왔다 두 제진들이 맞아 딱이 끼어오나? 얘네 다 찍으면도 왔어. 다 덴바이나 사마 찍어 차고 찍어 용면도 왔어.
So, apparent phenomena, things, how they appear to the senses of different sentient beings, appear totally differently. Something appears hard, solid to some, and soft to others. Something appears as something, not to be touched to some, while it's food to others. Something's medicine to some beings, while the same thing is poisonous to others. That which illuminates some obscures others. For example, the sun. the sun for many beings is that which illuminates. The sun rises, and based on the light of the sun, then we can see. But some beings are obscured by the light of the sun. For example, an owl, being nocturnal animals that during the daytime their eyes don't function well. They can't see in the brightness of the sun. The night, the light, the darkness of the night is what illuminates their vision. Point being that single objects appear and are experienced in different ways to different beings. If a single object has a definitive true existence, is truly established, is truly one single thing, then it will have to appear and be experienced in that same way across all beings. But that's not the case. So we can analyze in this way, thinking of appearances, objects, and that they can't be said to be truly existent as single things because they're experienced and appear in myriad different ways.
이네성한테네 내내 가르쳐 상지 도구도나 가르쳐서는 내한테네 말한 좀 사라고 찍어야 사 생제 민라바 쪽 민라바 나서 민라바 쪽통으로 그래 들어봐 내가 사인도 희바양 여서 사네 상명을 레지요 사디 칼라인 상명을 레지요 사네 사디 지기도 사를 개고 사상에 사대 대사라고 빼는 니는 상해요 사람 맨도 행해요 사람 공부하는도 행해요 사람 처럼도 행해요 주야 대라고 다 빼는 짓을 말하는 저거 아니 다 살아서 빼는 다 말하는 저거 빼는 아니 매는도 행해요 빼는 다양냐왔다 생겨서 그 간에서 고랑가랑 얘기 나왔는데 배는 메인도 시바죠. 그래봐 다 양배는 좀이지 감다버지 얘나 땅가서 되니 따라지 그 희소모이나 내가 알아놓고 그때네 지형 매배 나와도 마도 야고 싹 나와라고 시작합니다. 근데라고 있는 배는 용왔다고 치글라 배는 다 쳐다버지 지바래 쳐다나 칼라근도 힘이요 쳐다나 내근도 힘이요 쳐들었더니 배드지서를 다 공빈도 힘을 쳐는 메인도 힘을 두시 소매 대다고 다들 매번 열어봤어 다 가르쳐 담지 덴바라고 요는 다 담지 찍는 거 봐도 나와 찍으면 나와서
Sutras, the Buddha Shakyamuni speaks about this. In particular, speaking of earth. Earth appears in different ways to different beings. In particular, I see 6 modes of how earth appears in 6 different ways, is experienced, perceived in 6 different ways. To some, to one class of beings, earth appears as earth. To another class of beings, earth appears as food, that to be eaten. To one class of beings, earth appears as a home where they live, within which where they live. To one class of beings, earth appears as fire. To another class of beings, earth appears as empty, totally empty, nothingness, emptiness. Other class of being, earth appears as water. And it's like this. To various classes of beings, the experience is totally different. For example, to beings in hell realms, the nature or their natural perception of earth, of everything, is a fire, burning nature of fire. To beings born in formless realms, when we die, we are reborn in formless realms. In the formless realms, there's no particular objective appearances that arise whatsoever. So the single object of earth would not appear as earth whatsoever. It won't appear in any way. It will be a nothingness, an empty appearance. There won't be an appearance. And it goes on to discuss that all the elements are this way. The appearance of the objects of all elements appear in myriad different ways. Water appears as food to some beings, as a place to live for other beings, as emptiness, as fire, and so forth. There are myriad different ways to experience, to perceive a single object experienced by different beings. If any given object is truly existent, again, it needs to appear in that way, be experienced as that one single thing, and that's not the case. A single object is experienced and appears in various different ways.
다 옛날 이야기 보면도 나서 그수보다 때는 그랬어. 나서랑 그수보다. 다 나기상 거. 이네 수보다 나랑 그수보인 이거 나랑 인 그수보인. 얘나야 나랑 그수보다. 생긴 보라 먹고 되기도 와. 가시에 대속에 강관이라고 제. 칼라라고 제. 농관이라고 그래도 와. 하여튼 나랑 속에 다다가 속 그랬겠어야 되는지 거쪽 그 농관. 거쪽 그 호텔. 거쪽 그 상저. 아주 농관인데 처음 알았어. 다 인상 알아서 인상단 잡을래 놓았어요. 수 뭐한테 알아서 걸린다고 놓으라. 수 망치기한테 내가 두고 봐.
That Demba
왜 봐? 어디 때문에 내가 은혜 소리 말 망치세요. 다 갈때 되네. 가서 대지 로가 이나? 나 인상은 나는 찍어도 믿어. 농과인 칼라인 드레상 본상 보여자 나 쉬어야 돼.
All right, an easy example. One, maybe we don't need any other examples in this one. Take the example of our own body. My body right here. This is clearly, my body. This is me. This is mine. This body is mine. It's definitive, true. That's what this is right here, my body. Really, if we look inside our body, there's all sorts of sentient beings, bugs, little critters, hundreds of thousands or billions, trillions, all sorts of little bugs, things living in our body. And their perception's quite different. For them, it's their house. It's their, lovely little house. It's their food. It's their country. It's their land. It's their bathroom. It's all these different things, perceived in all these different ways. What we are certain is my body is perceived and experienced in countless different ways by all these different, everybody else that lives inside there. It's their hotel. It's their house, their country, their place. They definitely don't have the perception that it's my body. And these days, democracy is becoming quite popular around the world. And in a democracy, one being, one vote sort of thing. So in a country, if you're a democratic country, one way that you kind of decide on what actually is true for that country is by voting. And whoever gets the most votes, then really they have the right to say what's true and what's right. So good thing our bodies are in a democracy. We'd lose. We're the only being here of these billions or trillions of beings that are here, within what we call our body, that consider this our body. All the rest of them have very different perspectives. So we would definitely lose that vote.
다 원하스 다들 뭐랬어. 다 나라서 난국의 취업이 나는 때나 다 생전 소속 레전 나와. 소속의 셈이 나와라 야비요. 소속의 레면라와게 레전 나와. 그러나 소속 레나움이라고 야비.
So what is this all about? How does this come about? Well, from the perspective of the Buddha Dharma, the teachings of Buddhism, we have karmic appearances, karmic perception. A single object is experienced based on an individual's karmic predilections. Their own actions lead to their own idiosyncratic perceptions and appearances. The appearances of the mind. a single object appears in this way based on one's own karma, one's own mind, mental perspective. So that's why we have this line. All appearances are your own mind, or one's own mind. Appearances. Medicine to one, poison to another. All these various different experiences, perceptions of appearances, of phenomena. All are contingent upon and experienced within the individual mind. They all arise within and are perceived from one's own mind.
오늘 리낭선은 가래. 나란 속에 초력이 나와. 초력이 나와. 내서는 맞아 보면 내사 근데 되게 박차고 왕. 소수분을 나오는 주제로. 빼는 소수분 임무를 해가지지. 되게 박혀도 제목을 맞고 말하면 나는 대만 잡지.
So karmic appearances. What exactly do we mean by this? Karmic appearances are diluted appearances, diluted perceptions. Diluted perceptions that are perceived and arise based on what actions one has engaged in. The karma one has amassed leads to habitual tendencies. Based on those habitual tendencies, we perceive things in the individual ways that we perceive things. In a similar way, the tendencies that the actions, the things that we do during the daytime create imprints in our mind that we then carry into our sleep, our nighttime experience, which provide the fuel of our dreams, what arises in our dreams. So in a similar way, the habitual tendencies, the imprints that we place in our mind from the actions we engage influence the way we perceive and experience things.
대대 다 말한 쪽에 애니 뭐고 경라 선전 빠르면 통상 타대바 망고 잡아야 돼. 더도 가르쳐하고 그래서는 다 대가란 쪽에 안 나오고 다 대요 말다. 그래서 담기 때문에 말하는 쪽에 대려 송고요. 가르쳐는 소설하는 게 나와요. 대대 다 대담지 애니 덴버 쪽에 요 말. 가르쳐는 다 대표는 저서는 가는 군섭스러워다. 아까 상집에 남지야 가르쳐는 군섭 매우 많이 봐. 도에 많이 봐도 dob사요. 자꾸 매일 야식을 말해 가르쳐는 애니 나그스는 싫어도 도래. 얘네야 도를 야두고 말해 거기서는 누구 얘 껍질로 매요. 워낙 누구 코랑 돌다 야두고요 말. 대대 얘네 코랑 그 돌아 라인 그 들었더니 배너라서 왔다가 라인 그 들어가지 차고요. 소수 그때는 다 뺏겨서 대답이 소수 그때는 뺏겨서 애네 레지 나와 때기다니 차고요 소다 대라 애니 다 말한 또 산지로 버티라 다치 깨졌지나 아서와 다 산지를 깨졌지니 네 꼭 가서 보대다 내니 감시자고 로나와 네 쪼대 상은 보대 네 나니 감시자고 로나 샤자도 봐라 잡수지 샤자도 봐 아니 뒤에는 칼라레 쪼제래 대 쪼제래 저기 쪼제래 저랑 쪼제래서 대기는 못해서 그러니 샤자도 봐 끝이 저랑 장고 장경 소리지 대 칼라레 쪼제래서 대 칼라레 소리만 칼라레 대 칼라레 가지고 칼라 좀 대봐 될 때, 얘다 근섭지 뭐든지 소속 모두 소속 내마 차도래 소속 모두 내마 차도서 내마이나 즉 용거로 봐. 즉 마용 붙이니 더 답인 거는 내마 저번 매래. 대대 근접 삼도들이 생각 속에 근접지 때문에 근접지 대마. 그래서 나와 사기면은 근접 대마다 더 남 대마다 어다 때는 근접지 대마. 더더랑 다 대가랑 그 돈이 코등이 가래봐 대가랑 돈이 코랑 이제 말로 세보자 다 말로봐대 오늘 다 가르쳐 그래 다한테 더 나가자요 코랑 이거 말로 세보자
So it's based on this. Our own individual karmic appearances, karmic diluted appearances. That a single entity then appears as perceived, experienced in countless, innumerable, infinite different ways by any different number of beings. And why you can't say that any single entity has a single definitive true existence. It only exists as one single thing. It's experienced and appears in countless different ways based on individual, idiosyncratic we call the relative truth. Why in the teachings of the Buddha Dharma, we have the twofold truth, relative truth and ultimate truth. And relative truth pertains to what is relatively true based on the individual level. For me, if something is poisonous and I eat it, I'm going to die. That on a relative level for my own personal experience is true. If I eat that poisonous thing, then it will kill me. But for another individual with another set of karmic perceptions and karmic habitual tendencies, that same exact thing will appear as medicine for them. And on a relative level, that is true for them. That is truly medicine for them. It needs to be understood as such. It is true in that regard at the individual level. A given thing, the qualities of harm or benefit of a given appearance is contingent upon one's own individual perception of that given thing. And that all is within the realm of relative truth. The relative truth that arises based on one's own karmic predilections. For example, to clearly understand this, Rinpoche's example of the shrine table, the beautiful shrine set, where if Rinpoche and those bugs, those termites got together and they went out to settle it once and for all, who was right about this shrine table? Is it delicious food or is it my beautiful, ornate, solid wooden shrine table not to be eaten? So if we had gotten together, me and those bugs, and gone to the Buddha himself and asked this, Buddha, Kyatsuchi, take refuge in you. Please, once and for all, settle this matter. Who is right about this? Is this my shrine table or what? What's the true existence of this thing? Then the Buddha would say, well, Tulku Sang-ngag, yes, this is truly your shrine table. This is your shrine. And then later maybe the bugs show up and they say, okay, let's, once and for all, don't lie to me, Buddha. What is this? This is food, right? This is our food. The Buddha would say, absolutely, this is food. bugs. This is your delicious food. Ah, we've settled it. And on a relative level, that's absolutely true. Relatively speaking, in the realm of relative truth, then one's own individual experiences have to be respected, understood in that way. Relatively speaking, are true for that individual. But again, this is why in the Buddha Dharma we have the two aspects of relative truth and ultimate truth. Based on one's individual perceptions and appearances, things appear in a certain way to be true and function in that way. But the fact that they appear in different ways to other beings shows that they are not truly established as any singular given thing. They're not truly existent as one single thing. That's the aspect of ultimate truth. That because things appear differently to different people shows that they're not truly existent in any one single way, which is the aspect of ultimate truth. So by looking at it in this way, by understanding that things appear differently to different beings, then we should be able to clearly see this the twofold aspect here. Yule Tade.
타게 받다 먹고 나야 돼. 안그 샘을 자고 와서 샘을 와서 오나 샘데 가려요. 다 샘데 가려요. 스타트 샘데 에네 라인거 줘가지고 요래서 아 요나 타게 받는 게 샘을 줘. 베는 그 샘을 말하는 샘을 샘께서 샘이라고 토니 아고서 빛나고 하셔서 와. 오나 난 해야 돼. 난게 그런 게 다 뭐라 대야가 나왔어. 아니, 다 간지지 요래서 다지 난게 됐어. 속으로 요래, 뭐고로 지 요래, 가도로 요래 때나 내가서 녀요. 난게 돼. 여바르면서나 직가서 여바르면서나 가서 때고요. 여바레스
여바이는
직대하는 거로 봐. 대단해요. 야, 매바레베스나 대용해 말으로 봐. 맞지 남녀지 요래. 대대 대내 말한 저 애니 대답을 그때는 생리고 직대바이나스. 애니 주변 타다까서도 직대바이나 다 여바다 매바 니까 여바 말이스 가르스는 여바는데 때요 말 매바르면서는 매바야 레오 말로 맞아 희행해 줘. 대나기 근데 니까 이미라서 봐. 근데 다 지랑 영나 근데 주변 다 지에서 간다 주변 다 예당 되네. 되는 거랑 좀 잘 송상 다 대답을 얘네 다 샘제랑 이게 일단 가는 좀 되나요? 되나요? 되라고지 야투요 말했어. 지금 되나랑 이거 딱 말하고지 다 되게 그냥 야투 말했어. 근데 대담 때들이 가는 좀 얘네 주비 다 담게다.
So who is the subject that is experiencing, seeing all whatever given individual appearances? It's the mind, the individual's mind that has the individual distinct experience of whatever given phenomena, objects there are. It's one's own mind. So then what is the mind exactly? So our next line points that out. Mind itself primordially transcends all mental fabrication. So what is this mind? What is the subject that is experiencing whatever given things there are? Is this mind truly existent? Does it actually exist? Is it definitively, truly there, existent? So if we look to the very essence of the mind, the essence of the subject aspect that experiences, then what do we find? When we look to the nature of the mind, of the subject, look to the nature, look at the essence, then there should be something there, something that can be shown, something with some type of shape. If there is something there, if there's an actual subject, an actual thing there, then it has to be tangible, showable, have a color, have a shape, something like that. But it doesn't. There's nothing found. You look to the essence of the mind, what the mind actually is, there's nothing there that can be shown. If the subject, the mind, was existent, then it would need to be something that could be shown. So since it isn't, then it's non-existent. But we can't really say it's non-existent either, because there is experience, there is appearance, there's subjectivity, there's consciousness. So we can't really say that either. So really, when we look directly at the essence of the mind, what the mind actually is, what the subjective experience actually is, then there's no conceptual fabrication, conceptual label that fits for it. You can't say it exists. It doesn't make sense to say that. Likewise, you can't say it's non-existent. That likewise doesn't make sense.
아니, 내 신경들 랑 샘들에도 양 샘들 다운도 샘들은 니에가 말. 그래서 랑 동반이 있어. 그래와. 아, 친한 담지 랑이 좀 매봐서 첨보 동반이. 첨보 동반이.
중중나이가 첨부.
야야. 던던 동반이 있어. 그래서 딱 말하는 쪽 빼는 애네. 동반이 있으니까 도구다 누구게 남아. 다때가 변했겠어요. 동반이 있어. 동이 집주서. 강다다 때라다 강다 때라 가르쳐 버렸으나 아? 맨저 동반이 따서 치낭 강도요. 말로바 손상 다 됐다. 동반이 있어. 양 동반이 있어도 제양 매조지를 대양을 내고 와. 대할 때다 됐다 빼놨더니 동반이 있어다. 추되는 동반이 남과다부터 망라서와 되니 남과다부가 망라서 얘네 대부분은 딱 말아서 로대양 되니 빼대께서 남과다부 동반이 되니 가서 로대양 남과다부가 망라 동반이 대양라 시작발라서 다 대표님께서 이렇게 소 생활하서 가고 되게 많이 그러와 최단계 공부하니 남과 따로 임바 대단 가서 저 시바지 내시지냐요 아때 시럽되고 아때 시럽지 바로도 짐바
시백니바
시럽지 바로도 짐바세 다 시럽되고 다히 째는데 공부하니래도 아 공부하니 때라요 오 다때 공부를 해 싸면 따고 뭐 때문에 많이 봐 그러나 추 동반이 남하다부터 이거나 되네 또 동반이 있으라다 되는 뺄게서래 애네요 되게 쟁 이름을 제가 빼는다 동반이 또는 동반이 됐다고 되는 남하다부 지금은 연벌이 시작받았어 얘네 다 제가 가르쳐서 그렇고 얘네 다 바로 치마하시는 다다 강자들이 동반이 해서 와다 뒀어요 그래서
So this mind itself, it primordially transcends all mental fabrication. And the truly established, transcendent of all conceptual fabrication. Not, Then the realization of both of these, the outer and inner level and everything in between, as being empty is what we call great emptiness or ultimate emptiness. So in the sutra vehicle, this experience, this realization, or the understanding of things to be not truly established, not actually existent as they appear, is called emptiness, or an ultimate truth, emptiness. The realization of nothing external, nothing on the objective external level, the internal subjective level, is existent in how it appears, is not truly established, is emptiness. So this emptiness we talk about is not some type of nothingness. It's not saying that there's absolutely nothing there at all. That would be a mistake to understand it that way. The true nature of reality is empty like an empty sky. The true nature itself of phenomena is like an empty sky. So the practice of equipoise is to place one's mind in a state of empty space, just like the true nature of things is like empty space or an empty sky. Unfettered by anything, not bound by any mental conceptuality, mental conceptual fixation. The practice is to place oneself in a state of vast open space, spaciousness, in the same way that the nature of reality is like empty space. So this is what you're to train in gaining definitive certainty in, that experience of mixing one's subjective experience with the experience of the empty true nature of reality itself. And this experience, that understanding, that knowledge is what we call transcendent wisdom, the Paraljuchimba, or Parchin, transcendent wisdom, Shera. Through investigating, through analyzing, using all your means of reasoning, logic to look into the nature of things, And then finding the nature of things and recognizing one's own nature, the nature of one's own mind, to be likewise spacious, not conceptually ascertainable, and remaining in a state of certainty of the experience of that, is what we call shed up transcendent wisdom, the wisdom, the knowledge of ultimate truth, also called emptiness.
다 강들이는 들어있는 것다 슈탐케라스 베나 당하는 또 위험해라 수밖에 출발이 대대바테나히 에네 랑가 되는 거랑 좀 못해요. 다 대인 대미 들에 대말에 따고 예민라 수밖에 얘기 시작하면 빵제제네서 얘기지 마. 얘기 탐지 빵제제네. 되는 거 좀 샘대요. 주바 매뱅은 강라스. 왜냐 제직도 네바테. 다 제직도 되는 거 좀 네바테라. 되네 단담장 줍지 샘지. 세고 요래라 단담장 줍지 샘지. 냥야스네. 내려서. 강라. 얘네 다 말은 좀 냥거리.
So today, the main thing to get, all phenomena, all phenomenal appearance, transcend any conceptual labeling of existent, non-existent, completely transcend all mental fabrications, all dualistic conceptuality, and likewise our own mind transcends all proliferations of conceptual mental activity of this is it is like this, it is not like this. Transcends all definitive dualistic based conceptuality. All phenomena likewise our own mind and the nature of our own mind. So then this state, the experience of that, remaining in the state that is free of all dualistic mental contrivance, free of all mental fabrication. To abide in such a state with single-pointedly, to remain single-pointedly in such a state is what we call the meditative equipoise of ultimate bodhicitta. And this experience is ultimate bodhicitta. And so when we to remain free from dualistic conceptions is the practice of a bodhisattva. So when we talk about meditative equipoise, it's to be remaining in this type of state that we're talking about.
얘는 제적도 써야 돼. 그냥 가려내서나. 영화매를 붙여. 뒤에 나가 그냥 영화매봐. 똑바매봐. 다 되네 지금 나가. 되네 딱 말하는 쪽 빼나. 선대 되네 지 전바다. 신신이 지 지스비가 거네. 되네. 마음에 나가. 되네. 네바니나. 다 내가 되네 말하는 쪽 에네. 냐버리자봤어.
So remaining in this state, when we say with single-pointed concentration, in this context, what exactly do we mean? Single-pointed concentration here means without distraction. Remaining in this state undividedly, free of any distraction. Without any conceptual fixations, fixation on thoughts that are arising, without being fixated on them. Remaining in this state free of conceptual fixation, in a state of mindfulness and awareness, free of distraction. Then if we're remaining in this state described in this way, then that is meditative equipoise.
다 대량가는 저기 지금 맞아 동상이 뭔가라고 지를 쉬어이나 아니 가르쳐 신에다가 동서가 봐 샘제도 교부 되는 요금 되나 쌈대함 되니 땡겨도 신에서 다 대다는 그 되는 거라도 그 공이 돼요 내가 지금 와서 아니 동닝아 야과 좀 많이 봐 휴탐지 되는 랑잉이 제바 뭐든 또 대다로 제장 제공
中本นี้能呢杀不怎么样的。
야, 신이 동관이 때는 야부터 많이 봐. 최담지가 영국 다음에 봐. 최담지 다음에 봐. 인지 공부이 니로 내가양 도신 지어지지. 다 뒤지야 되게做得了 다 통서요. 다 뒤걸 다루는데 바로도 침박이 뒤고 뭘 맞더니 쉽게 요요래. 다 트렌드 또 냠자지야 도시에 거라. 다 말아도 자기 비선제서도 다 당고 공급도 현재 샘제차 다 돈담이 이렇게 샘선을 가르쳐 거스나 아니 냠야지 값서 이거와 냠야지 값서 되네 맞죠 아니 다 가르쳐 거 돈담장 이렇게 샘라 되네 요즘 zem에도 공부 냠야지 값서 다 말하는 좀 당고 샘제니 되네 주바탐지도 저와 대라 되네 영화도 좀 bombate esta trend yani 좀 가르쳐 또 남자 좀 비슷한데 다 좀 가르쳐 되는 냠소가 돼.
These days, when we talk about meditation, you hear the terms calm abiding and direct insight, Shine Laktong in Tibetan, or Shamatha and Vipassana in Sanskrit, calm abiding, direct insight. So when we talk about a calm abiding aspect, it's the aspect of placement meditation, remaining in a state of single-pointed concentration. Remaining with the mind focused single-pointedly. We call this likewise shamatha, calm abiding, or samtin, meditative concentration, or samadhi, so forth. Given these different names, this is the aspect of calm shamatha, the single-pointed focused part. So one's mind not just trained to focus on some given thing with deep, unwavering, undistracted concentration, but joined together with that, the aspect of vipassana, direct insight, which is remaining, the realization of, understanding of the state of emptiness, the true nature of reality, the recognition, the seeing of how things actually are, the seeing of all phenomena, all appearance in their selfless nature. Their selfless nature, their true natural state, the true way things are, their empty aspect, the emptiness. So remaining in that state of understanding without distraction, free of distraction, then is the coming together of these two aspects. This is the Lakton, or Vipassana aspect, joined together with the calm abiding shamatha aspect. So remaining in this, then, is our instruction for meditative equipoise, the unity of these two aspects. So this was our main topic for today, the training in meditative equipoise as it relates to ultimate bodhicitta. So later on in the text we have more extensive discussion and trainings in the 6 paramitas. Today is really just about meditative equipoise. So these last two, or this section we're concluding today, kind of concludes the section on bodhicitta, the precious mind of enlightenment, where we went through the various practices and stages of relative training in engendering relative bodhicitta, and then today focusing on ultimate bodhicitta. In particular, when we're actually engaging in meditation practice, remaining in equipoise, which is to be remaining in the state of equipoise of ultimate bodhicitta, which is said to be the meditation that is free from all mental contrivance and without conceptual fixation. The remaining in a state free of mental fabrication, tridel, without distraction, is the definition of meditative equipoise. So today was discussing that, or this evening was discussing that, the way to meditate on ultimate bodhicitta.
Ini datila karese chakawa ini sonnes
Chakawa.
chö tamkitini manam tavsam silwa ini chö no manam tavsam bis ini machi ripi hila je ya repiten sendira
Maki.
machi
Kiwamira.
machi ripi hila je nienbo ni jara sir choro bos spera tina paisa no jungo tan tibigna de somores
Tamane. Chut tamjin milam yundu sam.
nienbo ni jara sir choro bos
Geshe Chikawa said something regarding this. There's a quote from him. Consider all phenomena, all appearance to be like a dream. Analyze their, through the means of reasoning, analyze their unborn quality. This itself is an antidote that naturally liberates phenomena.
Ini ta ngaran zo pena ini ongba ni ta nienbo ni jara sir choro pena teni ongba ni yin samba teyang teni ngaran zo chi ani teni rasan sha ta ongba ni sena ni ngaran zo pe kesere de karese
Nyimpo tela ya.
teyang ko so pa
Zingyo ma.
zingyo ma es
So the last line is more like, the antidote itself is left by itself, not to be clung onto. Left by itself, it is likewise liberated. The antidote itself referring to emptiness. The antidote of emptiness that liberates all. The antidote of emptiness itself is to be left in its own place, to liberate itself of its own accord. Meaning, do not grasp onto the antidote as well.
last one ini tadi deh namtari here wah namtari cuma sebuah nama Oleh sebetulnya tak cukup sangat saya ini cukup invest di Tibet di
So it looks like we're
다
out.
되게 어떻게 되네. 돈이 집절 생각인데 진짜가 나죠. 조 동과 때려도 조 동반이 조소. 조 이제 동반이 이야만 동반이 이제 조게 많이 해서 네. 다 싫은 거는 소만 돼. 다 되셔야 돼. 되네. 돈이 되네. 남탈이 되는 사람이에요.
Tibetan drawing. 통미 나타시대.
다 되게 돈이 집절서도 집절
지금 좀 시주.
집절 다 저 집절라 나서 돈이 집절라서 왔다. 다시 말하는데 사 그래서 지금 선거처럼 야야
Questions? We were to the
Там считано, ясно, что у меня нет.
아
У меня нет.
뭔가 니까네
치통과 남통과라는데 니지.
전부 동반이 강남 동반이
응.
아
전부 당
동이 시가 제요 소사.
아니 제생인데
니요 됐어.
나 제세도 가서 강게 땡진 저기서는 가고 하면 제는 제발 빠고 공원 본도면 다 됐으면 더지 미생이 됐대 비피에 이거 봐 내가 니가 이민 그때는 다 이해했으면 다 이해를 좀 받더라 이해를 이제 제세
니스 요마라.
아
니스
그네
니 안탕분이고 시다 제 니요.
요
요마라. 치통과 남통만 있어야 돼. 이게 재미나.
아니
Действительно, еще более свое.
So we're before we were talking about emptiness. We had outer emptiness, inner emptiness, and great emptiness and ultimate emptiness. These four were like given. So then, when we talk about the like fourfold emptiness,
돈이 쪽지야요
we often talk about Buddhists often talk about the fourfold emptiness, which usually relates to the way the Heart Sutra unfolds. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form, form is none other than emptiness, emptiness is none other than form. Those are the fourfold emptiness. That's what those four are called, and there's elaborate explanations on them. So then we were saying, well, wasn't there just two emptinesses we were talking about, outer and inner? And then, well, no, we talked about outer, inner two, and then great and ultimate. So we could say four. And then aren't there sometimes 8 emptinesses? Well, yes, there's 8, but that's discussing the 8 aspects of emptiness. It's not, emptiness is a phenomenon, not born, they do not come, they do not go, they do not abide, they do not, 3 or 4 other things. And then also emptiness is talked about often, and there's 16-fold emptiness, and then sometimes 18, up to 20, and there's all different types of emptinesses, and then how does that relate to but we had a different 4 in there. The 4 extremes was 4 extremes of existent, non-existent, neither, 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 both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions?
Any questions?
나서 언니 매나 자르마 그렇지니다.
Kaja yore. Ne chikchane jilan tina. Kaja. Sum yore. Webcast keep it going. Thanks. Teaching is wonderful. Thanks. The teaching is wonderful. Tujanandi pay amare. Tig yore. Is seeing but not grasping the same as when things stop appearing? Chik tong. Ma jimpe tongwa. Zimba maybe Tongwa, Dang Kanyang Ma Tongwa, Chipayin. Semla Kanyang Ma Shawa, Dang Zimba maybe Tongi or it.
Zimba maybe Tonga.
Semla Kanyang Ma Shawa.
What's it?
Maybe I didn't get it.
English
English.
is seeing but not grasping.
Is seeing but not grasping
The
is
same as things not appear.
one.
I think.
Is seeing but not grasping the same as when things stop appearing, when mind stops
Zimba
projecting?
maybe Tonga, Kayama Tonga.
Manzo 통 나와 되려 만질 수 아이나 이게 되네 가서 가서다 나와 가서 되지
Semla Kanyang Ma Shawa.
셈나 가야 마샤와 지버려서
Things not appearing.
Semla Kayama Himsing
풍기매도 진반매도 통원이 맞으면 통원이 집어서 따로. 개통에 밀려서 그러니까 지 통이 풀어 진반 맞으면 통 집어서
제지도 고다. 그래서 통이야. 근데 Zimba me나
Dung Tongi or it?
Zimba me나 대다 하고.
대신다리가
현다대 하고.
통에 지금 때서
나 홍로 통화 매제스는 나 홍로 차는 거래.
Not
그래서 아들
Zimba mewa dita ani
Read it.
nawa hajawa ni chibara sesa.
나무 마셔봐.
Nangwa Machara.
Ni
Dang
chibara
Ma Zimba Tongwa. Zimba maybe Tongwa.
Tongma zimba mashuwa taidang ani nawa hajawa ni chibara sesa.
Nye Tibet Towa they had this and Zimba Mena that Dung Tongi or it?
Zimba me나 통 좋으래. 대다 전에 정해한 거. 얘네야 찌찌는 게 때문에 찌찌 고기는 찌찌더니 찌찌 가야 마도나 나 홍으로 찌라 가야 마도가 차가 다 처음이나 때는 가야 통도 내가 어디 고거들 와. 난 니네 간가 통도 미나노 때는 가야 통도 되니 찌바라서 고거들 돼 말어. 니네 가라야.
가야 마샤 되그
가야 마셔라 빼는
나와 되게 먼저 록 서비스 다 중송으로 나와 네 그런데 나와 되게 먼저 록 서비스 나스 직통 길에 zimba mashuwa 아니 록 마셔 건난게 요마르와 록 차게 요마르와 록 마스나 아직 가운데 간나무 되게 생기레스 저거 되게 레스도 그게 간나무 되게 생기 아니 다 semge söbre semne den chawre sgorwa semna kayam hajawa de yangne je du namba kayam hajawa didang aniya chariyang diga sungwa mashuwenna ani dini ni chibarawe sgor스 talot
난데 세번아지 고민도 이내 내 파티 때내려와 맨날 말하면 저그 찰나양 얘네 때나지 똑바로 그냥 마요나 너와 네 때는 말하면 저그 좀 그냥 말아 되니 가르세고 네 때는 말하면 저는 중심 그냥 지금도 다 제가 마셔봐 생일 때는 하나는 고진인도 그러와
일 고진
내가 제가 마셔봤을 때 하나는 가야 매주 대만 매주 차려도 지가요. 뱀보다 지 고 차려야게 내가지야 드네지 봐야지야도. 제야 생그 찍어서 남도 매바 빼는다 두바 매바 나가 다워 생기도 대나 거야지야도 대성자. 아니 디다다가 가서 가는데 때니 샘나 째야 되네 빼듯해서 마셔봐 빼나 이나요. 지 뭐가 타발라고 근데 마저봐 빼나 다 가서 사통 남갔다고 이나는 되게 오래 생일에 치켜버려 말했어요. 배나더니 남갔다고 배나 찍나라서 아니 됐다고 찍. 이나는 양키야 마셔봤을 때 가서 배째서 나랑 저거 꾸이려고 그러와. 내가 찍어 마셔봐 차로 그러와. 배나더니 가서 찍어서면 나 돈에 강해야 되는지 매주기라. 대이나는 대 찍대서 양 나랑 저거 막 대답을 제가 양아 조금 고사라고 찍다면
진짜 통하나.
찍고서 답변나 얘네 당 생기 당성이라고 지금 봐봐라.
당성
배는 다시 가다 좀 됐어도 노랑게 고속들을 제대로 배는 고속 됐어도 전반의 신신 여백의 톤이 근데 말하는 쪽 배도 되지 어려워. 뭐니? 그냥 그냥 매주 그냥 배도 짓을 지금 말하는 쪽 짓더니 양지 계지 어려워. 배도 짓을 재미있게 어려워. 근데 뒤에 제만 도부터 그니까 거기로 왔더니 되게 지체버리도.
지야.
당고 들려있는 그래 애니가 되는 때에서 지체버리 이거라서 제형 말이야 봐서는 제 말이 대단히 잘 와요.
Lần một chức năng và ý là cho bà mẹ
그런
là
거 이나 또 보면은 지금 말이야.
ý là thông gì đấy.
그래.
So the answers to our understanding of the question came down to something like when there are things appearing, when you're seeing things, and there's an apparent phenomena, and there's no conceptual fixation to it, then does something still appear? That was basically what was answered. So yes, things still appear. Things still appear, you still see them, and it's fine that you still see them. It's not corrupting in any fashion. If there's no conceptual fixation, then there's no clinging to or apprehension of subject and object, although things are still appearing. Things are still seen in some way. Then the second part of that, so is the experience of seeing something without fixation to it the same as the state of nothing at all arising to the mind? Or like not seeing or anything appearing at all. So Rinpoche said he was a little confused by that, by what exactly is meant by nothing at all appearing to the mind. So generally speaking, we have two ways to understand this, or two ways that we talk about nothing at all appearing to the mind. One is okay and one's not. One is a completely blank, unconscious state, almost like a non-sentient state, like really deep sleep or falling unconscious, where there's no recollection, no mindfulness, no awareness going on whatsoever at all. And in that state, there's nothing appearing. So that's the first kind. Then the second kind, the other kind, is when nothing at all is appearing to the mind, but there is the aspect of radiance and cognizance still there, which is analogous to a clear sky, an open, clear sky, where there's nothing at all appearing in the sky, but there is sky, there is space. So there's nothing nothing appearing to the mind, but there is still the aspect of luminous cognizance or awareness there. So if you have that aspect, then that's good, then have that. In the sutra context, this is related to the experience of remaining in emptiness, possessed of mindfulness and awareness. So, yeah. Shimba.
Number me to boss seguido, number me to por el do injury. Number me to por lo que mango el napanga yorko. Number me to go, pena pepolas for arranging number me to por it. Jiang Yila Majibu pena dreme giola super number me to. Tindedan the Tongshin to Mizibin Chipa, San Marise,
Tongshin do
pena dambo, Manzu Tongshin to Tim, Tilizimba Majuna, Majupadinam Gayan, Majin, but number me to my Chipa Revesena.
That's
Number me to Napanga Yorko.
That's
Samugo Musunjero. Jiang Yila Mizibina. Because the Jimmy gave a single dollar so
last 5 years.
Oh, did you last night? Last in trouble with number with of Paina? Janet, Jabu Marise, last in go and you do.
So Logan's adding too that when we say non-conceptuality, or a state of non-thought, non-conceptuality, non-parmitopa, that there are many different types of that are elucidated. In particular, Maitreya has the five states of non-thought, 5 states of non-conceptuality. One being a thing, and a table, a sentient thing, then being unconscious, and being lacking faculties, and 5 more. I said, we don't need all 5. We just get that there's 5 different ones. Huh?
Can we know 5?
What?
Could we know?
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah. Kabbalah. Okay. So, the point being that the question of seeing something without fixation, is that the same as being like without any thought, with nothing rising in the mind, is like inherently confusing to the Tibetan, because there's what type of non-thought state are you talking about when you say that? So it's absolutely would not be right that if you don't have fixation, you're not just like a non-sentient thing, not experiencing anything, like a table. Okay. Then Napa did okay. Then Rinpoche said, yeah, like a corpse, like a dead corpse. It's not like that. Awesome. Okay, we'll give you the list once we're done.
나서 얘네 다 되니 선이 지마대 이거 믿어 말해. 봐도 그스 도로도 말해.
Barokabzu Yumaref.
내가서 말도 그저 날개네요.
Inasago Jimayu.
아,
Sago
This
next
weekend,
week?
On the 22nd.
This weekend is good. Next Tuesday is good. It's the following Friday that Bardo starts.
Okay.
13th.
Okay.
But on the
13th.
22nd, there is it's set in
근데
the...
지마 여는 때는 라고 믿어. 지마 나
No, it's
줘.
the
No, it's the
when it
last.
finishes.
That's
Okay.
the last day.
So we've got
나서 얘네 참아. 나서 때니 다 뭐가 나고 나서 야는 때니 가라사. 냠야. 냠야 그때니 맞아 가서 되네. 순서 정당 전주 주세요. 냠야. 얘네 냠내 나고나 때니 참아 투지체스.
Sago Jima Nyamyangi Kirsho. Topu. So Tokju. So we were just the Bardo retreat is coming up here in 2 weeks, so we won't have this class during for that 1 week. However, next Tuesday we will be continuing. So Rinpoche advises us to train in this way, to practice the state of meditative equipoise on ultimate bodhicitta, to practice this, take this into our own experience, meditate in this way as he described, and I added, and bring back your experiences next week and share them. So yes, so do that, and now we'll all dedicate the merit and the aspiration prayers together.
page 12. Soon
근데 제가 나지야 말로 주파야 세페 소렌소 그런데 지가 gem만 근도 상고에 연대신 여대다 규칙에서 여와기다 언제게 모아강라 적도 나빠대 다기게 매자와지 너무 주지라도
this very moment for the people and nations of this earth, being names, disease, famine, war, and suffering. but rather may pure conduct, merit, wealth, and prosperity increase, and may supreme good fortune and well-being always arise. In page 11.